Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So, this has been a very highly requested deck in the comment section for pretty much the last couple of weeks, and it genuinely warms my heart because I love this deck and decks like this, and I'm glad you all like it too. We're coming back to Punk Spright, and we have a significant Bystial package this time around. So, this is something I've kind of been working on doing for the past couple of weeks now, is just trying to I've got the, of course, Bystial Spright Synchro deck, but I was also playing Punk Spright before and a little bit during that time as well. I've been trying to, merge the two decks, I guess, because they have pretty much the same overall game plan that we're doing Synchro shenanigans utilizing the Spright monsters, and I think I was finally able to kind of, fit everything into 40 cards. Getting it all in 40 cards, I think, was the most tricky part. If I was willing to go up to, 60, then of course we would be off to the races there. But yeah, this is pretty much the same strategy that Bystial Spright Synchro like to use. We've kind of managed to squeeze in a very small Punk package. We have a set of Amin, one Deernote, just one Foxy Tune, and then the two E-Tellies as well. The idea here is, of course, that Amin is another way to go into the Chaos Ruler there, and on top of that, if we end up going into Chaos Ruler via Cupid Pitch, we just use Cupid Pitch to search up the Amin, and then go into our Accel Synchro for even more plays as well there. So, very nice stuff there. This deck is a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. I mean, it's a proof of concept that, has already been proven, right? I've already had a decent amount of success with both Punk Spright and Bystial Spright Synchro. So, in theory, this deck was gonna work just fine as well, but I was a little bit anxious about the ratios in particular. I really would like a second Foxy Tune. I think maybe dropping the extra Shinobi Necro might be worth it, just to get that in there, but I wanted to make sure in particular that I had room for the E-Tellies as another way of getting your play started without utilizing your normal summon. Potentially. I do think that is one of these strengths that this deck has, is that it can make so many plays without even having to normal summon. That's why grabbing the Amin off of Cupid Pitch is actually pretty good, because the way that we're making Cupid Pitch is off of Assault Synchrons into Sprites, and that doesn't use the normal summon. So then we can use Cupid Pitch, grab the Amin, normal summon it, and again, just go into even more plays there. The Amin also opens up the ability to go into the Psychic and Punisher, which is an incredibly powerful monster. This card is one of my favorite monsters right now. It's so good. It's so good, and it can be so hard to out a lot of the time. Especially because in this deck you're not only taking damage off your Amin, but also your Assault Synchron and your Spright Starters. So it's not ridiculous at all to be upwards of 2,000 or more points lower than your opponent, even at the end of turn 1. It can happen relatively easily. And in that regard, it makes your Psychic and Punisher that much more difficult to out. Of course, we now have another Towers-like monster in the form of Chaos Angel in this deck. Of course, one of Chaos Angel's biggest strengths is that you don't even necessarily need a tuner in order to be able to summon it. So if you have something like a Chaos Ruler and a Spright Jet, you can summon it with that. If you have a Bystial Lubellion and a Caligo Clawcrow, you could summon it with that. And it does definitely pay to use both a light and a dark monster if possible to summon Chaos Angel. That will make it and your other Synchro monsters much more difficult to out. But again, even if you just use dark monsters, that's still fine as well. The Chaos Angel does tend to, of course, be better going second because it banishes a card upon summoning. But even if going first, if you have the extra materials to bring this out, I think it's still worth it, because it makes your board that much more insulated against stuff like being battled over and or monster card effects there as well. As far as the extra deck goes, let's see. If I'm playing multiple Shinobi Necro, I usually like to play a Salamangreat Almirage as well to kind of help combo with that, with the Bystials there, but ultimately just didn't have room for it. Oh, as far as the Bystials go, I did cut the ratios a little bit, cut down to 2 of each Saronir and Lubellion, whereas I normally like to play 3. I mostly did that just to keep it at 40, to keep things relatively consistent. I will say you don't necessarily need E-Telly here, because again, we are often going to be searching Amin off of Cupid Pitch, but it just seemed too powerful not to include at the same time. The ability to, of course, have plays with the E-Telly, right? Because, there's so many worlds where you can open, both E-Telly and Spright Starter and then bait the opponent with E-Telly and then just do Spright plays, or It adds so much more of an element to play around Disruption that I figured it was too strong not to include, again, even if we already have another way of getting out the Amin here. And I did actually have a good amount of success with this deck. I played it in upper master rank from about master 4 to 3, so, you know, it wasn't like too much of my climb that I played this, but this deck is absolutely able to hold its own in upper master rank. I can definitely say that with confidence, and you know me, I'm always going to be tinkering with a deck like this, so if I have any more significant updates, I will definitely keep you all in the loop about it as well. But I mean, the combo lines are like, if you've seen any of my other content about these like kind of Punk, Spright, Synchro piles, the combo lines are all pretty much the same. So nothing too wild that's happening. We're just kind of, again, merging all of the different Spright Synchro based strategies I've been working on over the past couple of months here. So let's go ahead and break this list down card by card, and then we'll look at some games with it. We're playing 3 Maxx, 1 Caligo Claw Crow, 2 Shinobi Necro, 2 Spright Blue, 2 Spright Jet, 1 Spright Red, 1 Spright Carrot, 3 Assault Synchron, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K, Amin, 1 Noh-P.U.N.K Deer Note, 1 Bystial Magnamhut, 2 Bystial Saronir, 1 Bystial Druiswarm, 1 Bystial Baldrake, 1 Noh-P.U.N.K Foxy 2 the Bystial Lubellion, 1 Branded Regained, 2 Emergency Teleport, 2 Call by the Grave, 2 Spright Starter, 1 Spright Smashers, and then 2 Infinite Impermanence. That's going to be our main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Cupid Pitch, 1 Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Accel Synchro Stardust Dragon, 1 Baronne de Fleur, 1 Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign, Chen Ying, 1 Chaos Angel, 1 Psychic and Punisher, 1 Gigatic Spright, 1 number 38 Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 Spright Elf, 1 Spright Sprind, 1 Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax, and then 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. So, there is our list. Let's look at some games. Alright, this first duel is going to have us squaring off against Sky Striker. I think Azalea has kind of like resurged the deck's popularity a little bit, which again, I mentioned this in another video, but I find this interesting because it's my experience that Azalea is actually more useful as like a generic extra deck option. Oh, speaking of her, actually, I'm actually glad I brought her up. I totally didn't even mean to, but Sky Striker Ace Azalea, I really would like it here. Oh, this is an early iteration where I was testing Croco Dragon, just didn't come up enough, but I really would like Sky Striker Ace Azalea in this extra deck. It's very generic. We obviously play a lot of light and darks. There's just not enough room. And I think there are still other things I might play over it. But in any case, this hand, as you can see, not good. We don't have plays at all. So I'm going to have to activate Branded Regained and then just pass over to the opponent. Not where you want to be on turn 1. Not at all where you want to be. So we'll have to see how things go here. Opponent's going to play Upstart Goblin. That pretty much confirms that, of course, the cards following up here do verify that they are on Sky Striker. But if I see Upstart Goblin, I usually just assume they're playing Sky Striker. So who's going to normal summon and then battle with Ray before activating her effect going into the Hayate? I'll throw down the Saronir here. Want to throw down the Saronir because, of course, I have another copy in hand. But I'm also going to chain the Baldrake to the Maxx. The Baldrake getting chained here actually does a couple of things, right? Because I'm targeting the same thing the Saronir did, I'm not going to get to summon the Saronir, but that of course also means that my opponent's not going to draw off this Maxx, and the Ray is still going to get banished, and I'm still going to get to put a body on the board. Now, Hayate can just battle directly anyway, so obviously that doesn't matter, but we do also get the draw off the Branded Regained, which is nice. Okay, they sent Area 0, I think, just to get a spell card in their graveyard. Kagiri is going to wheel back the Engage. See if they activate it right away. They're actually not going to. Oh, they're going to, yeah. Set up the 3rd spell in graveyard and then go ahead and activate the Engage. Makes sense. Grabbing Aftermath, which I think, yeah, is going to promptly be used to destroy my Baldrake. That's fine. Oh, and the Branded Regained. Also fine. A little annoying, but we did draw the E-Tally, so we do have plays here. And at the very least, we have more options than we did on turn 1. But it's going to add in and use in the end phase the Shark Cannon here. That will not only banish my Baldrake, but also allow them to set the Shark Cannon with the, what is this card called? The multi-roll. So we do the Shark Cannon to be wary of. I'm going to assume they have a Widow Anchor as well. Top decking a second E-Tally. not great, but also not like completely awful. Like at the very least, it gives us another body because he tellies it once per turn. So they are going to use the Widow Anchor to use, or to negate rather the Amin, and then looks like they are also going for the Sky Striker linkage in order to get the Kagari and wheel the, engage back to their hand. They get to steal the Amin as well, but I'm just going to go ahead and use another copy of Etelly here, and then normal summon the Spright Blue next to the Amin. This will allow me to go for my Spright Sprind. And I'm going to activate the Sprind instead of the Shinobi Necro in the grave. This variant, of course, because we're playing the punks, we don't have room for the Nimble package, so gonna have to use that here. Opponent's gonna Druiswarm the Shinobi Necro. It's still gonna summon the Shinobi Necro, but that means, of course, I don't get my Saronir, which is definitely annoying. But I still get to, if nothing else, overlay the Shinobi Necro with the Sprind in order to summon Gigantic at 3,200 points. This will also send the Shinobi Necro to my graveyard instead of being banished, which is a very good thing because it means I get to use my Saronir on the next turn for a follow-up play there. I normaled Spright Blue but did not special it, so I still get to pull it out of the deck with Gigantic and just set that up. Getting Jet and then Starter for red. Going to use Gigantic to battle over the Druiswarm. Druiswarm is of course going to activate against the red. That's fine, I don't really care that much. Alright, we're linking off the blue and the Jet for the Spright Elf here. Elf I don't believe I have used yet, so I'm going to go ahead and use Elf. They are going to use the Shark Cannon, but I knew that was going to happen. I wanted to use up the Shark Cannon here because it'll get banished now because it was reset with multi-roll. So multi-roll, speaking of which, we'll get to reset the Widow Anchor, but as well as the Afterburners here. But do keep in mind that anything they set off of multi-roll is going to get banished after use. So it's not like they can just keep recycling the same spell card ad infinitum. Looks like they are taking my Spright Elf with the multi-roll, or the Widow Anchor rather, and linking into the Zeke, the link 2 there. Zeke is going to banish my Gigantic Sprite. They are also activating Engage for a Ray here, as well as an additional draw. Normal summoning the Ray, activating Zeke's effect to then tribute the Ray. They want to do that because that way they're able to activate Sky Striker spells, because Sky Striker spells can't be used if they have something in the main monster zone. But tributing the Ray will also allow me to banish it off the Saronir, which will also kind of keep the Zeke from getting in there. Multi-roll setting up a couple more cards, although this time the linkage and the Hornet Drones are definitely less relevant than something like Afterburners or Widow Anchor or Shark Cannon. And yeah, as soon as I summon my other Saronir, my opponent's already going to concede. They didn't even let me go for the Assault Synchron and really get my plays going, but even from here, you know, I can use Saronir to battle into their Zeke and then just start smacking him directly. I don't know, I do think that was a bit of an early concede. Like, I guess maybe it's because their Ray was gone and they were running out of stuff to get back with the multi-roll. Like, the resources there were kind of just running low, which is surprising. I can't believe I actually managed to outgrind a Sky Strike, like a control deck, as a combo deck. But somehow we did manage to pull that off here, so very nice. Good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our next duel. Our next game is going to be against Kashtira-Punk. So they are using the unicorns, the birds, as well as, of course, Fenrir's, with the Punk engine there. We're going to be taking the first turn and opening a very, very good hand. I'm going to start with the Bystial Lubellion here to see if I can proc an Ash Blossom or something similar. Nothing's coming down, which is totally fine with me. In addition to, or in response rather to Saronir, now we're going to fire off the Maxx, but we do have the call by in addition to our plays. So we get to circumvent the Maxx, and after we've cleared the minigame, actually play Yu-Gi-Oh! So, good stuff. Alright, Saronir is coming down, banishing the Lubellion out of the graveyard. Gonna then special Assault Synchron with its own effect for throwing down the red and the Carrot. Gonna sync off Assault Synchron and Carrot to go for a Cupid Pitch, and then lower Cupid Pitch's level down to 2, and sync it with Saronir. Opponent's going to actually use a Magnamhut right now against the Assault Synchron in my graveyard. Was definitely early. They should have waited for the Chaos Ruler, but I am, of course, okay with that. So, speaking of Chaos Ruler, here they are. We get to do Cupid Pitch, Chainlink 1. Chaos Ruler is going to go ahead and be Chainlink 2. And then from there, we get to even add a Saronir as Chainlink 3. Good stuff. Alright, Saronir is going to send the Lubellion. Going to use the Chaos Ruler to start excavating. There's Shinobi Necros, so we don't need to set up Sprind necessarily. Gonna grab Caligo Clawcrow, and then with the Cupid Pitch we can grab ourselves a Amin. I think get to normal summon the Amin, activating the effect. Opponent's going to Ash Blossom. Totally fine with me. 100% okay. I did not care if the Amin did not resolve, so. Also, the fact that they had Ash Blossom in hand, that's why we want to order this Chain Link the way we did, right? Where is it? The Cupid Pitch is mandatory, so it's always going to be Chain Link 1. But if you can get away with syncing Chaos Ruler using Saronir, it's good to do that because then you can chain block the Chaos Ruler Excavate with the Saronir Send. And as we saw here, people are not really nearly as willing to Ash Blossom a Saronir as they are a Chaos Ruler, of course. So Lubellion's going to set up the Branded Regained before the Chaos Ruler is going to summon itself back by banishing the Shinobi Necro. This will allow me to get a draw by putting back Cupid Pitch, and of course also summon the Shinobi Necro to my side of the board here. So good stuff. We got a lot happening here. Going to sync off my Shinobi Necro and Bystial Lubellion in order to summon Baronne de Fleur. And then we get to throw down the Caligo Clawcrow before we sync off the Amin with the Chaos Ruler to summon our Psychic and Punisher. Alright, now after that we get to overlay the red and the Caligo Clawcrow for Gigatic Spright. And this is also like the cool thing about this deck. Look how much we've played through. Our opponent had 3 pieces of disruption, and we're like, we have a Baronne and a Pep, and we're also about to set up Spright plays. Like, it's one of the reasons I love this deck so much. Like, you might think that a bunch of conflicting engines would make it even more susceptible to disruption, but that's not the case at all. Like, we can play around it so well. It's why I like Spright Synchro so much. It's because of the Spright engine. Like, if you get disrupted, you can just pivot into Spright plays, and it's always good. Or, like in cases like this, you can just have Spright plays in addition to, like, your Baronne, your Omni Negates, and your Towers, your Psychic and Punisher, and so on and so forth. So, opponent's going to draw phase Elf to ensure we don't get any activations there. They're going to summon the Knightmare Unicorn. I'm going to try to go ahead and summon the Saronir off the Regained. Opponent will Druiswarm to target it. I'm going to chain my own Druiswarm to target it, as well as Smashers to banish their Unicorn. That way they don't get to banish anything out of my extra deck. And then at that point, I know they have a Druiswarm they can't use in hand, which leaves them with very few options to counter my, again, Omni Negate plus Towers, plus Monster Negate with the Spright Red there. So, good stuff, great stuff. We got a pretty nice win there. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next duel. Alright, this one's going to be against Tearlament. They're not using any like crazy text or anything that I noticed at a glance. I didn't even see any Kashira Fenrir's in here, so this is a fairly standard fare Tearlament deck. We're going to be taking the first turn yet again here. This hand might not look like it has plays, but it's actually got plenty. Going to start by using the Bystial Lubellion to grab Saronir, and then summoning the Saronir by sending the Bystial Lubellion there. Going to then normal summon the Spright Red. This will allow me to link into the Sprind. And similar to the Chaos Ruler, we can once again use the Saronir in order to chain block. Going to use Sprind as Chain Link 1, Saronir as Chain Link 2, so now even if they have an Ash Blossom, they have to negate the Saronir and not my Sprind. Sprind is going to set up Shinobi Necro in the graveyard, and because I have a Bystial in hand, I can banish that Shinobi Necro and then summon it back with its own effect. That's going to allow me to sync it with the Druiswarm in order to summon a Chaos Ruler. Definitely looking for Assault Synchron here. If you don't open with it, Assault Synchron is pretty much always what you want off of the Chaos Ruler here. So, and there we go, we did end up finding it. Alright, it is worth noting that we don't have Punk plays anymore because our Foxy tune went to the graveyard, but we're not summoning the Cupid Pitch here anyway, so that doesn't really matter. After summoning the Assault Synchron, we get to go into Baronne de Fleur. We then get to bring back our Chaos Ruler by its own effect, tributing it for the Lubellion. That will allow Assault Synchron to bring the Chaos Ruler back to the field. Lubellion gets to set up the Branded Regained after that. And then after that, we don't really have any more extension as far as bodies go, so I'm going to overlay the Chaos Ruler in Lubellion to summon the Hope Harbinger. Hope Harbinger will not only negate spells, but it will also, a lot of people don't know this, but redirect attacks to itself. That's what its other effect does. It's very, very relevant when you have weak monsters on board you want to protect. We also can, with Spright Sprind, detach one of Hope Harbinger's materials to bounce monsters. So those factors combined with our Omni Negate, combined with our double Imperm we're going to set here, is definitely a very nice end board, even though it's, you know, not as many monsters as we usually end on. Still not too shabby. Opponent's going to roll some of the Diviner. I'm going to activate the Branded Regained and then chain the Imperm to negate the Diviner. Opponent's going to chain a Super Poly though, discarding the Celiac. This will allow them to fuse their Diviner with my Hope Harbinger, which will put Mudragon on the field, but mainly cause it so that Imperm does not negate the Diviner, allowing them to set up whatever they want to set up. I'm sure a Miller is coming down, so... I'll bring back Druiswarm with my Branded Regained, and yep, there's Kelbeck. Kelbeck's going to activate. I will, of course, negate it with Baronne, so that way my opponent doesn't set up their graveyard. And I'm just going to have to hope they don't have anything else in their hand, like a Shiren. They do have a Foolish, though. They're going to use Foolish to send to Agido, so they will get to mill 5 from each of us. The mill 5 here is going to hit a Snow, but nothing else, thankfully, so no tier names. They did hit Kelbeck, but of course they've already used Kelbeck's effect. Bringing back Snow and then using it to put the Baronne face down. I'm assuming they're going to go for a Redoer and then into a Zeus line here. But we do have the Imperm to stop the Zeus, so... Yep, sure enough, here is Time Thief Redoer. Battle phase, Redoer is going to battle over the Sprind. I don't care about losing Sprind, that's not a big deal. And then, yep, here on top of the Redoer is the Zeus. Opponent's going to activate the effect right away. I'm just going to chain the Imperm here, though. Opponent does have a Fairy Tail Snow to dodge it, but it's going to cost them the rest of their hand, and also pretty much everything else they have, so... I am completely fine with this trade. I'm 100% fine with this exchange, because, as you might remember, I still have a Chaos Ruler in my graveyard. Not only do I have a Chaos Ruler, but I also have a Shinobi Necro and a Bystial Lubellion, so, like... Even if I didn't have any cards in my hand and I was in top deck mode, I already have plays, but the fact that I have Assault Synchron in my hand too is really just the cherry on top, so... Gonna pass, our opponent is... Oh my god, we even get the Amin on top of it. Although, to be fair, again, we do have the Foxy tune in the yard already, so no Punk plays, but we could still have summoned a Psychic and Punisher utilizing that, but... Nope, Alicia is going to surrender just as soon as we activate Chaos Ruler's effect, which makes sense. So, we have one more duel to check out. Let's go straight into that. And our final opponent is going to be on pure Kashtira. So, no Halcdon stuff, no Punks or anything else. It's a build focused on the Shangri era plus Diablosis engine there. So... Gonna go second with a hand that would have been amazing going first. Oh my god, this hand is all gas. But opponent's going to start off with Ogre and then Shifter. Shifter against this deck is definitely more than a bit of a yikes. Because this deck is, of course, very graveyard reliant. And it seems like our opponent's setting up quite a few plays here as well. Overlaying their 7s for a Diablosis. They didn't really hit too much off the Excavate there. And Diablosis is going to take Chaos Ruler. Which is actually fine, because we're already under Shifter, so it's not really like we're going to go for Chaos Ruler plays anyway. I think I'm just going to try to build a bit of a Spright board here. Maybe Spright plus Pep is kind of what I'm thinking. So, they do have the preparations here, and I'm going to take a chance on this Unicorn. Now, here's the thing. I don't expect my opponent to know what the correct choice is here. Oh, I was testing Almirage in this particular variant here. In the extra deck. I don't expect my opponent to know what choice to go for here. With the knowledge that I have about this deck, I would absolutely, and also given the fact that I know someone's Amin, I would, if I were my opponent, rip Psych and Punisher here. Like, that's just definitely how I'm going to win this game at this point. But, or how I'm planning to win this game at this point. But we'll have to see what they end up actually taking here. I don't remember off the top of my head. Ogre is going to activate. Ogre, I tend not to really care that much about. It's like, you know, it's taking one random card, and that's totally fine with me. They're actually going to hit the Spright Elf, which I think is a bit of a misplay, but as my opponent's banishing more cards, I'm kind of realizing, like, wait, I think they've actually banished enough where my Chenging is just going to be a win condition here, and sure enough, it is. So I'm just going to pivot straight into the Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Chenging in this case. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and sync off for the Cupid Pitch. Going to see if I can grab myself a Caligo Claw Crow. And just get, like, you know, a little bit of an extra body, as well as some extenders as well. Plus more cards to be banished, too, on top of that. So, no Caligo Claw Crow. I think I end up milling that. But after the Chenging is on the field, I can activate Spright Starter, and that will proc the Chenging. Chenging also drops my opponent's monsters down to 0 attack. as well as being big enough to finish off my opponent here. So if you're playing Swordsoul or another deck that just has Chenging in it, and you find yourself against pure Tearlament, that's actually an excellent way to counter the deck there. It's actually, I think I tweeted this at, who was that? Oh, at Foxy. I tweeted at her because she had a game where she was also playing Chenging against Pure Cashier, and I tweeted at her the Watchmen scene where it's like, you're not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me, and it's like Chenging to Diablosis. So that's good, that's good. But yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for our games with this Spright Synchro variant. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, I know this profile was pretty highly requested, so thank you all for being patient while I got out other videos before this one. But let's go ahead and do it now. Without further ado, let's move to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There, for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot, as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now, so without further ado, this is Accel. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.